Hey guys, welcome to episode 10 of Take from Obvious Bozos. I'm Drew. Joining me, Director of Digital Development at the Strickland, the Chief Creative Officer at the Strickland, the President of Posts, social media posts at the Strickland, SNY, all your favorite sports stuff, Zachary Blattery. He's with me. Zach, how's it going?
It's going great. This is the second morning that I woke up as a fan of an NBA contender, NBA Finals contender,
Oh,
and
isn't it lovely?
life couldn't be better.
There's we'll get into it because the vibes are just too immaculate. Even with the injuries, the vibes are great. But unfortunately, well, fortunately, because these are our sponsors, our favorite people in the world at Bet Online. It's playoff time, and the usual suspects are heading to Vegas for the championship pigskin ball game. And our partner, BetOnline, is your number one source for football odds, stats, trends, and lines, with everything from point spreads to hundreds of bets on everything from the coin toss to the color of the Gatorade. BetOnline is the number one source for your championship wagering. Head to BetOnline and join today. Get on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. And don't forget that we have one more ad we are promoting, and that is, of course, us. The Strickland has an Instagram. You could follow us at the strick.land. It is going off right now. Tons of engagement, tons of clicks. You got to check it out. It's the place to be. Right now, we also have a YouTube channel where you may be watching this pod. Make sure you subscribe and leave a like in this video. Yeah, do make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. And also, to hear the entire episode of this, you would have to do something like signing up for our Patreon. That's right, guys. The Strickland also has a Patreon, and the Patreon has tons of new content. For $6 a month, you can get access to the full version of this show. You also get access to our amazing Discord server where you can submit the takes for this show, along with the Friday episode of Pod Strickland, also featuring articles from Matthew Miranda, invites to private events throughout the season, and discounted merchandise. And for $9 a month, you can access the NFL show, our new one. Well, it's not new anymore. It's been going on for a while. Our NFL show, Strictly NFL, hosted by Jeff and Khan. That is where you should be listening. Actually, no, you have already listened to it, hopefully, because the Super Bowl is this Sunday, and they did a Super Bowl preview. So definitely, I guess, check. Hopefully you listened to it already, because this is definitely coming out before. Anyway, they did a Super Bowl preview. Check it out. You'll also get tons of more perks when you sign for elevated tiers at Patreon. So thank you all. Zach, are you ready to get first and foremost our post-trade deadline takes? You ready for them?
Yes, I'm so ready. If you don't know, we have organized the show now to feature the post-trade deadline takes first, and then we will go back
Correct.
in time to pre-deadline because we have plenty of submissions that were
Oh,
when the vibes were
we know.
high, but not as high as they are right now. So
No, the vibes are. It's kind of crazy how immaculate they are right now,
especially
because
considering circumstances.
right, because they. I don't even think they got their ass kicked, right? But they lost to the Mavs at a high point total. The top four guys are out. Hartenstein also leaves. They traded guys, right? Like they just don't have people. And that was a ball game for what, 42 to 45 minutes?
For
Like,
most of it, yeah.
yeah, like the Knicks were in this game for most of it until the end. And you're just kind of watching it, and I'm just like, this team's good, right? Like,
We're
also,
fine.
like the
Like,
Mavs,
we have
yeah,
seven
like
dudes, and
I felt like no, and I was like, Dante's getting Dante's taking significantly harder shots for obvious reasons, and he's making them. So it's like, oh shit, like Dante's taking another step. Hopefully, we're gonna see how this goes. Maybe we have some Dante takes, because I had all the hot Dante takes after that game in our Discord, where I was just like, he's the guy. So no, the vibes are great. And then we got, is it is it Bohan?
but
Which one is Detroit?
I'm going with Bojan.
I think it's Bojan too. right? So we
Yeah.
got Bojan Bogdanovic and returning our Lord and Savior, Alec Burks.
I will say though,
And
Tibbs was calling him Bojan, like with a American J, like he was saying the J. I don't think that's correct though. I think
I
Tibbs
don't
is
think
gonna
that's
have
correct
to.
either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Bojan, like 90%. But yeah,
And then we're going to get Randall back eventually. We're going to get Jalen Brunson back eventually. OG is going to come probably back by the playoff time. We already saw how good the team was,
hopefully well before playoff time for
but
Bozos.
we'll definitely have him by the playoffs. Is what I'm
Oh
kind of
yeah, hell yeah.
saying. It's kind of like how the injuries are happening. Given where All-Star breaks coming up, people can rest. The vibes are great, and then they added legitimate depth to the team. Like not like I don't know. It's weird being a fan of a team that kind of makes like the deadline move that like bolsters them, and you're like, oh, this is legit, right? Like Boyan and Alec Burks are going to be what, like the eighth and ninth men? Well,
7th and
they'll be
8th
a little
maybe,
more. Yeah, right.
something
Like
like that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, right? Like, and they're good. Like, they're legitimately good basketball players, and it's kind of crazy just how deep this team is. I don't know. It's
I
great.
mean we've got 11 players who I don't want to call them all above average, but we've got 11 players who can give you legit minutes, and like you shouldn't be worried about them
Yes.
playing. Like there are going to be 2 guys getting DNP, maybe 3 in the playoffs, who are like
Mm-hmm.
really good and like would be playing on other teams. So that speaks to the depth we have, and like we've had crazy depth in other playoff years, but this doesn't really
Not like
compare. I
this.
feel like with the experience and the talent we have now, this is the deepest Knicks team we've had. So
We'll definitely have people probably like older, much older than us, watching like years and years of Knicks. Maybe one of the '90s teams is deeper that we don't necessarily realize, but I do know at least for us,
sure.
this is the deepest, the most talented. Like this is a legitimate team now. And then that brings us to our first take, which is Young Pavardi saying Leon Rose is the best executive in the league. Uh, I don't think it's that
Yeah.
hot, is it?
I think he's been the best executive in the league for a while. I think he had a real case for executive of the year last year, and it went to Monty McNair in Sacramento, who did a great job, but I thought he could have
Mm-hmm.
won that off the Brunson and Hartenstein contracts alone. And this year
Right.
with the OG trade and Bojan trade now and everything we did, the Dante pickup in the offseason, I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
anybody else even has a case. Like there shouldn't even like they pick 3 finalists. There's only one finalist here. Like he is a clear cut, far and away executive of the year this year.
I can't think of anyone else.
Yeah,
Who
I
would it
can't
be?
either.
Like, are you gonna give it to Boston for the Porzingis trade? Right? Like, I mean, like, not really.
It's not.
Right? Like, I
It's
can't really.
it's a nice little like attribute, but they don't have a case for it. It's not like they didn't make
No,
some
I
major upgrades outside of that. So
yeah. So I unless it's the Celtic, I feel like Leon Rose is gonna get it. He's the best right now. The,
yeah,
I am a little concerned. Not. I don't want to say too concerned. I mean, this is definitely like old Knicks trauma type stuff, right? Where I'm just like, are tons of picks even going to like move the needle with anything in case you need to? But of course there are, because they also collected these very good salaries too that are very tradable salaries. So like they have guys like good talented players and but like I shouldn't be worried. It's just like they didn't trade it. Like the quickly thing still hurts. It is going to hurt.
it was a
But it's
sacrifice.
but it was a necessary sacrifice, sadly,
Yes,
right? Like it's turning out to be a necessary sacrifice, and it sucks. But yeah,
look at this
like
team. Like
look at
I'm
this
sleeping
team.
well. Yeah,
Like this team is great. Like it's too good. ZMP323 take has. Anyway, my not so hot take is well, where ZMP, where the deciders of that? You don't decide whether your take's hot or not. Is that the best decision the Knicks made this millennium was hiring Leon and surrounding him with guys like Perrin, Aller, and West, the perfect combination of connections, accounting, analytics, and knowledge of how to manage players' wants, needs, and personalities. Couldn't have said better myself. Not hot.
perfect. Not
He's
hot,
doing it.
but I do think like there is something to be taken away from the checks and balances they have, and like the different backgrounds they have in here, and the
Mm-hmm.
experiences, and like it really is a gold standard for how you should organize an NBA front office and a coaching staff and an organization top to bottom. And I can't believe it's the Knicks.
I know it's the Knicks. We're
Like,
watching it.
I can't believe it's us. Like, what?
You know, like the only thing that we're gonna have to eventually worry about is how much is Tibbs gonna like Tibbs in the playoffs, right? Like if he's gonna do some like old man boomer shit, right? But also like if Jalen Brunson really is the superstar that he appears to be, and Randall, this version of Randall shows up, maybe they're so talented they overcome Tibbs's
I think it's certainly
tipsiness.
possible. Like, I definitely
So
wouldn't rule that out.
so yeah, like as annoying as he is, and he's definitely probably like the one guy who we're probably like, he would be the replacement, and I guess also depending on which Randall shows up. But like again, these are good. These are like the best problems to have, and it's like, oh no, like what are we gonna do? Like I don't know. I feel like the Eastern Conference Finals should happen. Maybe
If
that's
we
the
don't
hot
make it,
take.
I'll be disappointed if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals. If they're healthy, as long as like if something like catastrophic happens injury wise, then it's different. But if we're like fully healthy and got some okay opponents, like I don't see why they shouldn't make the Eastern
Yeah,
Conference Finals. So
I'm with you. Knights of Cups has Troy Weaver is getting all the slings and arrows of Twitter as the worst at his job, and rightfully so. But Arturas Karnisovas is right behind him.
yeah,
Uh, is that even he? You could probably actually make the argument because it's like the Bulls that like it's been worse, but like Detroit's really
yeah,
bad. So like it's like it is kind of crazy to think about. Like Troy Weaver is that bad that you actually do kind of forget like how much of a disaster the Bulls have been. Like they don't know what they're doing. They have no direction. Did they even trade any of their guys? No, right? Like they didn't trade Bruce.
they have not made a trade involving a player in 22 months.
Yeah,
It's
like
a long time.
they're going nowhere. They don't win games. And then you're just like, oh, we're gonna get the OG Anunoby package for Alex Caruso, and it's like, I mean, Alex Caruso is very good. I would have loved him on the Knicks, but like, you're not getting the OG Anunoby package for Alex Caruso. Like, you had
They
to
also
trade
just
Zach
like
Levine. You had
they're
to
showing
trade him
a
a few
belief in
years.
this core. They're like, "Oh, I like this core
Yes.
with Vooch and like what do you like
No.
about this core? Like
What are
what
you
is this?"
watching?
Yeah, like, I don't understand. Like I don't know what their goal is going into the season every season where they're just like, "Oh, wait, we've got these like C tier star players who are just going to go out here and win 35, 30 games." And that's what's going
It's
on. Like I don't know. What do
I
you
don't
think of
know.
this?
I think I don't like it. I I shouldn't say surprised, but like I really do feel like at this point, like someone like a DeMar DeRozan and players like him, where like you're so on the ball, but like you can never like take and be like that next step, like in that echelon of players. Become a six man at this age, right? Like I feel like six man DeMar would be
Just go
great.
somewhere that can actually use like a tertiary score. Like there's no reason to be running everything through DeMar DeRozan in 2024.
Yeah,
It's
just like
crazy.
yeah, just or if you do, just do it for like 20 minutes a game off the bench. It's
Yeah.
probably really good. I don't know.
It's kind of like what we're doing
I
with
don't get
Bojan,
it.
or we haven't
Well,
done it yet, but we will do that
speaking
with
of
Bojan.
Boyan, yeah. Well, speaking of Boyan, Zach Rosen has Boyan is a better offensive player than Brogdon. That's tough because we're talking about two different styles of offensive
Yes.
player, though. So that always makes things tricky because you're talking on the ball, drive and kick, 3-point shoot type thing. Where Boyan is just efficient, like just he's not really creating like Brogdon, but he is insanely efficient and is what is a 3 level scorer. Like, and it's two different things. I think it works for the Knicks, though, especially in the playoffs. If Tibbs is going to basically have Brunson and Randall on the court at all times, something along those, like, the, there's always having Boyan is probably just like a good like release fouls type thing. I think even though they could still use someone to create on the ball with but in playoff time, I think at least for this playoffs you could probably survive with a little less on the ball than what because you lose quickly and Boyan doesn't really provide that on ball compared to Brogdon, but boy, he's gonna be deadly though. Especially if Dante has some of this creation that he's been doing too, off the dribble, and he could use some driving kick. I mean, man, like it's it's good. It's
I
really
mean,
good.
if you're talking about like missing the on-ball stuff, like that's what we got Burks here to do. Like that's what Burks is going to have
That's
to do
true.
when Brunson's off the floor. Like that's what his role is going to be. But for Bojan, I mean, I wouldn't rule out the on-ball stuff. It's like not like he does nothing,
No, I don't.
but Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to rule it out. I'm just saying it's not the same strength as
Yeah.
Brogdon's, basically.
I
So you're
will
getting
say,
two different type of players.
yeah, I think like we've seen this already. Tibbs is not going to stagger Brunson and Randall, no matter like who else is on the roster. So I think we're gonna have minutes where it's like just Bojan. It's like the Bojan show, and Brunson and Randall are sitting. It won't be that many minutes, but it will be like those midway second quarter stints or like late in
Yeah,
the
you're probably
third.
right.
Like there's gonna be times where it's just like Bojan out there with Josh Hart, Dante, Precious, or like those guys, and he is like the
Yeah,
scorer on the floor, and offense will be ran through Boyan. I'm looking forward to those minutes. Like he showed he can do it in Detroit with nobody around
listen,
him.
he's
And when you're
listen, he's
putting
gonna
stuff
cook though.
here, like he's gonna cook in
He's
those
gonna
minutes.
cook.
So
I just love the idea, like Bojan Bogdanovic's gonna come off the bench for the Knicks.
it's crazy. Like this guy would start on
It's crazy,
25 other teams. So
man.
I don't know about 25, but a lot of them.
He's going to cook. He's gonna play some crazy old man stuff, and it's gonna be beautiful with the bench. I can't wait.
Yeah. I talked to a
Stacey,
Pistons fan about him that I know, and he was just saying he's like, we've been playing Bojan like 35 minutes a night, and he kind of will like fade out in the fourth quarter because he's just like doing too much and he's carrying the entire load in Detroit. And he's like, dude, if you've
it's
got him off the bench, like you're in for a treat with him playing 22, 23 minutes a night. So
I'm
I
telling
can't
you,
wait.
it's gonna be crazy because he's putting up. You know how like we're like Dante in like these couple games without Brunson is like putting up the efficiency, but like obviously he's not a primary.
Yeah, it's
But
nice to see, but
it,
we're not doing this long
let's
term.
see.
So
Boyan's been doing this in Detroit though, right? Like he's been putting up these numbers for a long ass time on that shit team, and now he gets to play with good players. So, like, listen, it's this could be this could be amazing. Stacey Patton has Boyan is the third best offensive player on the team, maybe the second. Well, no, he's not the second.
he's not the second. Like that's why I put this in here. That is the bozo part. He's definitely not the second best offensive
No,
player on the
no,
team.
that's a hot take and that's a bad take. That's a
Yeah,
hot and bad take.
yeah.
No, he's not. You're going to say he's better than Julius Randle? Oh, okay,
Stop. Yeah,
stop.
please stop.
But third's interesting though.
Sure. It's him or Dante, right? Like that's kind of it, or is there somebody else that I'm
Yeah, no,
missing?
it's just him. It would just be him or Dante. OG, right? But like he could be. I
Sure,
think
I'm
he could
not.
be.
He's the third.
Yeah, it's between. It would be. Yeah, it's between him and Dante. But like again, it's just kind of like one of those things. I don't think they'll do it, but I would love to see like Randall, OG, Boyan, Dante, Brunson.
Randall OG. So is that Randall at the 5?
Yeah, it won't
You're
happen.
you're
I know it
tall
won't.
tall ask. Tall ask. I don't know if that's.
But
I would like to see
but
it,
um,
but
but imagine that lineup, those five guys
God,
on the
dude.
court.
You
Like,
can't switch anything. You can't like blitz a pick and roll. Like you better like
well,
stay
like
disciplined guarding that.
yeah, it's pretty much like okay, they'll trap Brunson. I mean,
Okay, go
okay,
ahead.
like
Yeah.
go ahead.
Like,
Like Brunson is perfectly fine passing the ball if you're going to trap him. We saw that against the Lakers, right? He's
yeah.
like, fine, I'll pass the ball, and he
He was
will
just
do it.
passing
Of
to like
course,
bums in that Laker game.
yeah, yeah. This time he's passing to Randall and OG and Boyan, and you got to close on him. Like you have to defend them. I don't know. Like I would love to see that. I don't think it's going to happen. But that's the lineup I'm looking for. Yeah, no, I think he's the third. I think third is fair, unless Dante is this Dante, then he would be the fourth. But I think third is. I think it's fair. That's a better take, Stacy. The second one is no. That's just bad. Kyle has Boyan's a better fit than Randall, making him expendable in a star trade this summer.
Okay. You're laughing, but this was one of my favorite takes we've gotten.
Okay, I'll let you go first because
all right. So actually I have a lot to say about this one.
okay,
Bojan like will fit better than Randall. I don't know if I like the term better than Randall because Randall's just a way more talented player and like you can run
hmm
a lot of shit through Randall. And like I don't want to say better, but the fit with Bojan here is worth discussing. And I think the star trade thing is worth discussing because all of the reporting when this trade went down was like the Knicks have maintained every first round pick and will be
they
star
did.
hunting this summer. Like that was the Woj reporting. He was like, they will be star hunting this summer. And like it was made clear that it is this summer when they're doing this. And this will lead me into my personal hot take for the show. I have another one coming, but this one is I think Embiid is done in Philly. I think he's played his last game as a Sixer. And I think this injury,
hmm
like they're dressing it up to make it seem like he's not done, but he's done. And I think They're going to trade Randall and Mitch for Embiid this summer. I've been saying this for a while. It's kind of been written on the wall. I wrote about it in our trade deadline roundtable piece at the very end.
Mhm.
But I think like that Randall, Mitch, and whatever picks it takes for Embiid is going to happen. And then you can just start Bojan at the 4 next to Embiid, and that's a pretty scary lineup. And like I think that lineup with Brunson, Dante, OG, Bojan, and Embiid is not only a contender but probably the favorite out of the NBA next year if Embiid is ready to go. And like I think I've talked myself into the Embiid injury risk by now. Like he's going to sit out 4 months. He'll have an extra summer. I believe that the Knicks training staff and coaching staff and just their medical team and all that stuff is just better than the Sixers. I would imagine they're putting more money into it and they just have smarter, more experienced people around him. And the extended offseason for Embiid combined with a few months in Terrytown and the relief pressure on the offense from Brunson and the relief pressure on defense with OG, sign me up. Like I'll talk myself into an NBA MVP coming here.
No, I'm not. I'm going full
No,
homer mode. No, I don't want him. He's a bum. Plain and
I'm
simple.
ready. I don't like
he
him
gets
now,
injured.
but when he puts
He
on
get
like
he gets injured all the time. He is a flopper. Don't get that's actually an NBA officiating issue that we don't have to get into, but still, I hate watching it. He loses. He's never been to the Eastern Conference Finals. He's not going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Julius Randle is going to end up going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he has been as far and as successful as Joel Embiid in the as a player. No, I don't want him. I don't want this loser. Just give me this Knicks team. Like they already traded all the kids, right? The young guys that gave us the hope in the first place, as like traded them all away. You and I have specifically said on day one of this podcast, we are in the Randall Redemption, right? This is what we want.
the
We
Randall
want
Sans.
the Randall Sons, the Randall Redemption, the Randall Sons, whatever you want. Like we're in on it. I want it to happen. Give me that. Give me the guy who has even just like like not I'm just combining story and narrative. It's narrative. But no, I want that as like just as a fan watching it. Like I want to see Randall do this. Like I would love to have Randall be the guy who does it. And I don't think Embiid is the guy. You could sit here and say he does it. You know, he's won the MVPs. He's been to All NBA. I get the entire argument for Embiid. I'm not trying to put it down, but like he hasn't done it. It's been this long. He hasn't done it. I just don't care. I think he's a loser.
I'm just gonna play Embiid advocate again and just say like the teams he's played with, the stars he's been around, whether it's like Ben Simmons in the beginning or like one season of Jimmy and that didn't end as sweet as it could have. Then you get like past peak Harden who had some moments for them, but it wasn't like the most seamless fit of all time. They kind of like stumbled into Maxey late in the first round, who saved them and maybe has put extra years on the Embiid era. But I just don't think like the minute he walks in here, Brunson will be the best teammate he's ever played with, and then OG will be the best defender he's ever played with. And I just think you can't
So
draw up
that,
a more conducive situation for Embiid's health.
but that points to me, and at least tells me that it's the other guys who are actually driving the impact. So the idea that the Knicks are the idea of you're just like, oh, the Knicks are going to go for a star trade, and then you're going to say Brunson's the best teammate. To me,
That he's
then
ever
I
played
look
with.
at it as but to me that looks like as well. Actually, Brunson is the star
He is.
in this situation,
I'm
right? Like,
I'm happy. I have
right,
no issue with that. Yeah.
right. So if Brunson's the star, like I don't think you necessarily need to be like, oh, we need to go star chasing. He may elevate everyone enough to do this again. Like our this is why I'll point back to like if Randall shows up in the playoffs, do you actually need Joel Embiid? No, I don't think you do at
We'll
all.
find out.
The only well, obviously we'll find out and we'll see how things go. But I just personally also feel like if there's a way, this will be harder. This is going to be a lot harder. It's the idea of keeping Hartenstein and Mitch, but in terms of salary stuff, right? Especially how like the salary cap
Yeah.
of things are going to go. I believe that it's better to distribute your finances between two pretty much elite centers, role player centers versus the star player center. I think it's better that way, and the Knicks have shown like for now throughout these things under Leon that like 48 minutes of center play is one of the best advantages that a team can have, especially in the playoffs. And it has shown that ultimately, at least I believe. So, like, why would you spend the injury risk on Embiid, like all that money on Embiid, and plus the injury risk of not playing when you can have probably 80%, 90% of the impact Embiid does between both Hartenstein and Mitch. I'm just not doing it. Like, I'm just not doing anything with Embiid. I don't think he's the guy.
I I agree with what you're saying, but I still think like you can get 80-90% of the production you get with Embiid from like the 48 minutes of Mitch and Hartenstein, but I don't think you can win. Well, depending on who you have around them, but as like this roster is constructed, I don't think you can win an NBA championship with those two and like just this
Why?
roster right now
Why?
so far.
Why can't this team? Why can't this team win a title?
Their teams just like Boston and Denver are just too talented. They both edge us out a little bit more with talent. So
Look, I'll get the Nuggets. I get right because it's Jokic. I don't know, man. I think I'd rather have Jalen Brunson's hands on the ball than Jason Tatum when it comes to like the games on the line.
it's not
You
just
would sit
Tatum
it
though.
like
They've got Porzingis and Brown and Drew and
okay, and
all
they're
those
and,
guys.
and
So
they're a team who doubled down on their strengths from last year and increased their issues, which is 3-point variability, which happens in
yes,
the playoffs every single year. You can't rely on a high variable shot in the playoffs and not get to the rim. The Celtics are still doing that. Granted, they're a significantly better 3-point shooting team because of Porzingis, but they're still not getting to the rim enough. That's what they're going to need to do in the playoffs. And I don't believe it. Like, I just don't believe in the Celtics in the idea that that type of variable shooting is going to work at some point, and especially against a team like the Knicks who have like the point guard that you want. I don't know. That's how I see
I mean, and you didn't even mention the health risk that they have. Like they're a Porzingis injury away from that being a whole
it.
disaster. So, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
Porzingis is so important, so central to their success because he is the exact type of five that you want to double down with that type of playing style. But one injury, they're cooked, and it's so I don't know. I don't think the Celtics are as big a threat as they're being made out to be, just given their shot profile right now. That can change, and if they start attacking the rim, then I'll obviously change my tune. But that's their issue, and I just don't see it happening.
yeah. I have one last thing on the Embiid pursuit, but all of the reporting that we've seen about like Hardenstein like getting an extension this summer, it seems to be like a foregone conclusion. Like when they moved quickly, it was like the
Mm-hmm.
Knicks have other players they really want to extend on this roster, and like the only one who's actually eligible for an extension is Hardenstein. So
It would
that's
be
who they
hard
were
time,
talking
yeah.
about. And I could just see that being like the seamless transition going from like if you trade Mitch and Randall in that deal, you have Boyan here, then you just extend Hardenstein on a nice number, a number that might be bigger than what Mitch got, just because of the way the cap works and it goes up every year. And then you have Hardenstein as your backup big, but also the guy who can step in as a starter when Embiid does miss games. Like it happens. And I think that tandem works really well. And I think it's like a good way to express confidence in Hardenstein. So that's enough Embiid talk, though. I know you're sick of talking about Embiid.
I hate
So
it. That's where we're going to conclude the free show. You got all our post trade takes. We love the Knicks, as you probably can imagine. We love what the Knicks did. We love it. We love the takes, and we will see you on the other side.